Hi folks, this is all the fruit. Today I want to go foraging through the Karlsruhe Botanic Garden. The Botanic Garden of Karlsruhe is situated in the Castle Park of Karlsruhe, and actually, the whole park is kind of a giant arboretum with a lot of rare and ancient trees. Look at the size of this oak. By the way, the acorns are edible, although nowadays in Germany they are not being used for food, and in southern Europe they're being processed through a pig before they are being eaten. Well, those blood beeches here, they also produce kind of edible fruits, just as the tree hazelnut over there. I'm too lazy. I'm getting up and going to the Botanic Garden proper. No, I was immediately pulled in the other direction because look at this beautiful old paper mulberry tree. Don't see a single fruit, so it might be male. Well, common European yew is not in season. Over there I see some holm oaks and some exotic chestnuts. Oh, look at that Saskatoon bush, but due to the drought the berries are not really well developed. Yeah, a beautiful place, and nice that it's been done like an arboretum. Arboretum is a tree collection, so basically a lot of the trees are of quite rare species. However, well, there is a gingerbread tree over there, which unfortunately is not edible. Fortunately, still I cannot find anything to munch on. Exotic maples and stuff. Some exotic walnut, most probably a black walnut. Well, this is definitely munchable. Well, this is the central baroque part of the park. I don't think there will be much here to eat. And there is some festival here too. Yeah, just a lot of linden or lime trees here. Am I gonna be demonetized? Just a break in the wall. Oh, a lot of bay leaf trees here in those pots. You could grow them outdoors nowadays, but those are old trees. They're being kept in those ancient pots or vats for decades. And here you can totally use the leaves as a spice. Today is your lucky day, folks. No bikes in the Botanic Garden proper. So I have to get down and explain everything to you slowly and in peace. So let's see what we can munch on here. It is Saskatoon season, but look at the results of the drought. Spring was very cold and quite wet, but the last couple of weeks were hot and dry. Maybe I should get a couple of those. Police line, or actually police barricade. Yeah, I want to steal those. They look cool. Or maybe rather not. Video surveillance in this Botanic Garden. They are not so much afraid we're gonna steal the trees, but there are a lot of federal courts which are encroaching in a very disgusting way on the Botanic Garden, chipping away pieces of it. And I guess that's why this is even the federal police surveying you here. Almost always it's just the state police, or the city police, but this is the federal police. Not the county police, the federal police. Well, hope they are not surveying this beautiful lotus plum. This is basically the tiny cousin of the kaki. And let's look at those bananas here. They have a decent banana collection. What bees? Where are the bees? The bees are over there. And I guess they're of the aggressive variety because they have this rope all around them. Let's look at the bananas. None of them has fruits or even flowers. And what I'm also quite upset about is that none of them has even a label. Well, This is an Inzete, Musa Inzete ventricosum. This is also something like this. This is the African banana. Every part of it is edible, but the fruits and the seeds are the least interesting part. The most interesting parts are the edible stem and the edible big tuber. But those here are really starved for food and water. And also the stem is so rich in water that it can provide you not just with enough water for drinking, but even for watering your garden. Don't know what the rest is. There are 5 other. They seem to like those old wooden beds here for plants, but I have no idea what the other bananas are. I totally do have an idea what this is. This is a beautiful feijoa or pineapple guava. The only, large fruited guava which can survive the local climate. It's not fruiting yet. Most of the flowers are just buds. A couple up there are flowering. Well, flowering feijoas are quite good because, see, here there is one. Because of those incredibly sweet and succulent petals. Sweet and succulent petals. Yeah. Here is a fuchsia collection. Last winter was so harsh that the outdoor fuchsias froze in Heidelberg. Good that they keep those in vats. I mean, those are old fuchsia plants. Look at the thickness of the stems. Let's see if they've kept them indoors. There is some chance for us to find one of the edible fruits. Although I noticed that the fuchsia cultivars, the fruits are not very tasty. You need to find wild fuchsia magellanica. Those are much tastier. But nope, not a single fruit on all those fuchsias. Oh, look at that, a mastix. You could already plant it outdoors since the climate change in our climate, but this is again one of those big wooden beds with the metal bands around them. Well, mastix is a pistachio, a type of pistachio. However, the pistachios are not edible. What is edible is the sap that comes out when you cut the bark. And actually, if you think the word mastix sounds familiar, well, it is closely related to the word masticate, because this is the original chewing gum. And people in the Mediterranean Middle East have masticated this mastix chewing gum for thousands of years. Oh yeah, but you have to cut the plant at a certain time and then collect the mastix at a certain time. I don't see anything masticable on this tree. A type of cherry, although it doesn't look like this. This is the Portuguese laurel cherry, the most bitter cherry I've ever eaten. The bitter seed is actually a lot less bitter than the bitter fruit. So I would say this is one of the basically inedible cherries. Beautiful old ginkgo tree. Are you a boy or a girl? You are a boy. See the male cones everywhere? Well, it's clever they planted the boy, because the girls, they produce tons of fruits which look like Mirabelle plums but smell like puke. And what have we got here? A big old black chestnut, or some closely related one. Actually, it's June, so we could still be lucky. Yeah, black chestnut seeds don't rot as fast as the Persian chestnut. So if we found some here, yes, actually here, look at that. Some squirrel broke one of those quite recently in the last days, and there was something edible inside. They are very tiny now because of several years of drought. Normally they have 2 or 3 times the diameter. Look at those, it's thinner than my thumb. Usually those can get quite big and they can be a lot of edible stuff inside, but not now. Oh, speaking of butts, there is one. Since this is the Botanic Garden of the castle, or rather palace, because it's not really defensible, the architecture is really nice. There is another Botanic Garden in Karlsruhe, the one of the university, but this is the castle one. Look at that, the monkey puzzle tree, which has giant cones with edible giant seeds inside. but not this one. Those are the small male cones. Female cones are like 100 times the size. What have we got here? This looks like some Szechuan pepper. Oh yeah. Maybe the fake Szechuan pepper, Cedruxylum simulans. Look at all those peppercorns here. I don't like the fake one so much. Doesn't smell nice. But it has those huge thorns, look at them. They're almost the size of the entire stem. I wonder if you would chop this off, this would make a wonderful weapon. A lot more of those wooden vats and things inside. They are sometimes edible. Here is another pepper. Well, this was the Szechuan pepper or Chinese pepper. Here we have the Peruvian pepper, the hot cousin of the Brazilian pepper. However, right now it's flowering. They don't see a single peppercorn. Those are pink. It's also called the pink pepper. Tells if we got here, those things are not edible, especially the oleander, which is extremely toxic. Well, the agave is edible, although full of oxalates. You could eat the whole inside of this giant thing if you make it past the spines. What happened here? They have closed off one of the most interesting parts, actually, in front of the orangery. Yeah, over there is a chocolate vine with edible fruits tasting like chocolate. Here is a bladder nut with edible nuts. They don't taste like bladders, they have a very specific but quite good taste. Let's hope that some of the interest that, well, the close-up part, it's not too big, so let's hope that they haven't removed too much from, they haven't removed my excess. Let's hope there is a lot of stuff outside this fence. Pomegranate in a pot, flowering right now, flowering a lot. What is this next to it? It has fruits. Oh, Persia indica. That's the Canary Islands. That's the Canary Islands avocado. This is not the wild form of the cultivated avocado, but a closely related species. And the funny thing is that the Canary Islands, they have a very substantial avocado production. I wonder if those thousands and thousands of cultivated avocado trees sometimes hybridize with the wild avocados. Funny. I should ask Carlo Morici, the boss of the Tenerife Palmettum, a friend of mine, and probably, yeah, he definitely has the best botanic garden in the Canary Islands, and he should know that. Another bay leaf in a pot. This one not like a tree but like a shrub. Oh yeah, nice bay leaf smell. Oh, Kurrajong. This tree is from Australia. It will feed you and water you. It's maybe the best survival plant in the Australian outback. And by the way, it's gonna try to kill you all the way while feeding and watering you. This is Australia, folks, not just the animals, but even the food, even the water will try to kill you. But nice, Kurrajong. This looks like a Persia americana. This is the avocado we all love, and all the millennials are spending all their money on this thing. Yeah, however, no fruits on this one. You can actually cultivate you can get good avocado fruits in Germany in greenhouses, but I've rarely seen this happen. Blue passion fruit or blue passion flower. Well, the flower is bluish, the fruit is orange, and the only outdoor passion fruit I've eaten in Germany. Last year, a lot of them ripened. Let's see how many we're gonna eat this year. Not in season, of course. And here, Lactuca seriola, the wild form of the common lettuce. I wouldn't suggest to eat the wild form because it's quite spiny and also bitter. Some outdoor bananas. This is the Japanese fiber banana, Musa basio. And yeah, despite the heat, they are still quite small because this winter they froze down quite deeply. Actually, those must have been protected because they survived up to 1 meter over ground. In the botanic gardens, they sometimes still protect them out of habit. So those might even be able to flower this year because a lot of the stems got preserved. But yeah, they don't look good for such a hot summer. Also, I guess there are restrictions in watering. People here trying to preserve water. Quite puny. They can get 3 times the size. Oh, and the fruit is nothing special, folks. This banana, like many other bananas, is being cultivated for its fibers, not for its edible fruits. Bananas have so many uses. Yeah, the fruit is the dominant use for most of them, but there are so many other things you can do with bananas, and sometimes you cultivate bananas which don't even have good and edible fruits. One Mediterranean thing that's not in a pot is the strawberry tree. Despite losing a lot of leaves, it has a lot of fruits, but not in season. And what is this? Oh, I hoped it would be some rubus, but I think it's some small shrub like acar or maple. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks, and tell me what this is. Oh, the cascabel or yellow oleander. Yeah, it is related to the oleander. It is just as toxic as the oleander. It's called cascabel after the rattle of the rattlesnake, because it's being made into a rattle as a musical instrument, and also this thing is just as poisonous and deadly as a rattlesnake. Not flowering right now. And this here, I guess, some tobacco relative, but I'm not exactly sure, and I cannot find the label. Let's say it's a tobacco relative, correct me if I'm wrong. And here again, I think this is the blue passion fruit, could be something else. There are hundreds of species, but it looks exactly like the blue one. Did I mention the beautiful palace-like architecture? And here a couple citruses in containers, but it's June, so it's definitely not the citrus season. Citrus season is winter and spring, and so right now they have nothing to show except nice green foliage. Also the fig season hasn't started yet, and also going to be some very late figs. I think this one is going to skip the summer season. I just see autumn figs on it. I hope to find here a lot of different cherries and mulberries and saskatoons and maybe some other things in season. But yeah, it's the 3rd year in a row where the fruit season is crap. Still, we are not giving up. Here a lot of different fabaceae, blue kidney beans. This should be, oh, look at those beauties. Those are ceci. Well, the Italians call them ceci. What's the name? The Germans call them Kichererbsen, and what do the English, the British, the Americans, the Anglo-Saxons call them? I forgot it, but very important food stuff. You make hummus and falafel from those, and 1,000 other recipes. And this here is soybean, also an extremely important, soya. What's soya? Funke? Well, it's soya. It's a soybean. So a collection of edible fabaceae or legumes in those traditional wooden vats. This looks like it's made out of black locust. Yeah, this will last for decades. This wood will last for decades without being treated with any pesticides. Kentucky coffee. You're supposed to be able to roast it, ground up the seeds and make a coffee substitute out of them. However, I think I watched the video, it was, I think, by the Weird Explorer, and he said Kentucky coffee simply tastes like mud. Now we are talking business. I see at least 3 mulberries here. They all seem to be different varieties of the white mulberry. Well, maybe we're gonna eat tonight. Well, not tonight, if there's fruits on them. I'm gonna grab those immediately. Here, by the way, the cattail. In survival communities, this plant is called nature's supermarket, because once you find it, you have found food, water, shelter, fire, clothing, a lot of technical stuff, and even arrows, if you know how to shoot a bow. Very useful thing. and also it grows in pretty much all climates in the world, from Siberia down to the equatorial areas. And here among it, some water mint. Not the tastiest mint, but wherever there is water, you have a good chance to find this mint. And in a survival situation, or even if your spouse is not good at cooking, some mint, I don't say it goes with everything, but it will numb all the other tastes you don't want to taste. Now let's look at this beautiful old mulberry tree. Look at the size of this thing. And I forgot the name of this variety. Unfortunately, there are basically almost no fruits lying on the ground. Here is one which is not even completely ripe. Not completely ripe, but very sweet and tasty. There are enough, well, there are a few ripe fruits on the branches, but they are too high. Oh, look at those, they are not even black. They are not even black. But already quite tasty. I guess then the black ones must be delicious. Well, here a much smaller variety. Despite the fruits being black, this is actually a variety, a cultivar of the white mulberry. So is this one, a weeping cultivar. I guess also with black fruits, however, actually even the red ones come off easily. They come off easily, but they are still sour. The ripe ones are purplish blackish. Quite sour. See, over there I saw a third mulberry tree, again the white mulberry, but this time with white fruits and a lot of them, and the branches are low. This year the cherry season is very bad, so the main things we can eat now in June, we can forage and eat in June, actually mulberries and Saskatoons, but even the Saskatoon season is bad. Those are not very ripe. What about the ones on the ground? If a fruit on the ground, usually it is ripe. Usually dogs pee on it. Nope, not even really ripe. They taste a little bit like mulberry flavored grass. Nah, not too convinced of those. The European chestnut, the most important foodstuff in Mediterranean mountains, also very important in sub-Mediterranean climate, all the way to the upper Rhine Valley in Germany, where we are right now. Nowadays, the fruits in Germany, they are being collected by millions of people, but not in a commercial, on a commercial scale, I would say. But what's being exploited on a commercial scale are the flowers. Yeah, and the timber, of course. It's a big forestry after all. But the flowers, remember a couple years ago, forestry department worker told me that when this stuff is flowering, meaning right now, there are over 1,000 beehives in the Heidelberg city forest. And then a couple weeks later they are being moved somewhere else where something is flowering. 1,000 beehives can produce quite a lot of expensive honey. So this stuff is still of commercial importance here in Germany. Beautiful. It's one of the optically most beautiful botanic gardens in Germany. The Heidelberg Botanic Garden is also very nice, but we don't have this historic architecture. And we don't have the space for lawns and meadows in the Heidelberg Botanic Garden. This one here is really beautiful. Nicotiana rustica, the rustic tobacco or the poor man's tobacco. This was planted together with the normal tobacco, but since this is much easier to grow, it's even feral in a lot of subtropical and tropical and warm temperate places. But nowadays it's not being cultivated for tobacco anymore because taste-wise, it's something for a very rustic palate, not for the modern spoiled snowflakes. Look at that, not a single citrus has got a single fruit. They cannot even see flowers. It's a little bit suspicious. Also here the greenhouses, you have to pay to get in here. They are quite small greenhouses and the price, I remember, was quite hefty, so if you want to pay it, do it. If you don't, the outdoor part is also extremely beautiful. Look at that. This is a huge and early fig variety. Remember the size of the other figs? Those here are 10 to 20 times bigger. Those are gonna be ripe in a couple weeks. Also the leaves, could this be Ficus afghanistanica, folks, instead of Ficus carica? Please tell me if this is Ficus afghanistanica or something else, or is it just a Ficus carica with strange leaves? Look at that, they have more of those. They have 3 of those plants. Oh, and among them, monk's pepper. This is the opposite of Viagra. Spice your food with this one and your sex life will be a lot less spicy. Oh yeah, look at the size of those figs, beautiful. And also acanthus. A lot of the capitals of antique Mediterranean pillars are copies of those leaves. Another very iconic Mediterranean plant. A couple decades ago when this was planted, it was still quite a rare thing here in Germany. It's the domestic pine. This is still a baby. They can grow like to 30 meters and they have this iconic umbrella shaped crown. This is still young, so the crown is still not completely umbrella shaped. They have those big cones, and out of those big cones fall the little pine nuts, which you can then forage. However, here some animal is even foraging the not so tasty cypress fruits. This is a Mediterranean cypress, also really old for German standards, but if some animal is even eating the cypress fruits, you can be sure that the tasty stone pine nuts are long gone already. Castor oil plant, incredibly toxic, except of the oil which is made from it. The oil is not toxic, but it tastes so disgusting. It was given to kids with constipation for a long time. Instead of giving them a healthy diet, they would give them that based on bread and meat and such stuff. No fruits, no veggies, and when they couldn't go to the toilet, they would get this horrible oil. Here is linseed or linseed, basically linen, well, originally made from the fibers of the stem. However, from the seed in those little fruits, the oil of this seed seems to be not really digestible, but you can still use it. I think, yeah, among other things, to stop constipation, to make linoleum or a plastic-like cover for floors, for a lot of technical uses, and you can also eat it. Although, as I said, it seems the human organism cannot process it. However, during World War II, a big ship with linseed oil was sunk somewhere up the Neckar near Stuttgart, and then people in Heidelberg would fish the clumps of solidified oil from the dirty, polluted river and use them for cooking for many months. Not the healthiest thing, but maybe still healthier than starving. And the fresh, unpolluted, properly processed oil, yeah, you can totally use this for food. It's just very probable that you will not get any calories out of it. Absinthe. This is an old spice. Among other things, it was used to make alcoholic beverages, which are supposed to have killed a lot of the European intelligentsia 100 years ago. Next to it, artichoke. Well, an edible thistle, which, yeah, it's edible, but only if you make a really tasty sauce together with a tasteless plant. Well, Mediterranean style stuff in pots seems to be the main theme here. Terracotta pots, those square pots. This is a pomegranate, those are some citruses. Here again, a feijoa. with incredibly tasty petals. Well, the petals are supposed to be eaten by the pollinator, and here in Germany some research papers say that actually rats have learned to eat them, and the rats are pollinating those tasty flowers to get tasty fruits. Here another pomegranate. Here this is a Himalaya palm, Trachycarpus fortunei. In Heidelberg they just killed one in the Botanic garden, and I didn't come early enough to scream that I want the butt, so they gave everything to the zoo to use it in some display, in some bird cage, I guess. Well, olive, also growing in a pot. Wherever you can grow olive successfully, you have Mediterranean climate. Look at that. I'm gonna go there. Do you see it, folks? Do you see it? Tell me if you see it. I am not gonna spoil it before I'm there and before I can munch on those tasty thingies. More feijoa, more pomegranates. What is this thing? I think this was some ficus. Is it a sycamore fig maybe? Well, at least there is a label here. Oreopanax capitatus araliaceae. Okay, was totally wrong with this. Here we have the only citrus that could grow outdoors even before the climate change. Well, not exactly citrus, it's Poncirus. The 3-leaf bitter orange. It's not really an orange, but it is bitter and it has 3 leaves, and it's deciduous. And this one must be many decades old. This was definitely planted before the climate change really stuck. Nice collection of magnolias. The fruits are poisonous, but the flowers of many species are edible and tasty. And here the European dwarf palm. Sometimes it's producing edible fruits. Even in Germany, they taste like the worst quality date you can imagine, but still, they do taste like a date. No fruits, not even the worst quality ones here. Another mastics. Any drop of sap I can masticate here. Here a couple tiny drops of sap. But they are too old, too small, and too old to be of any use. And this seems to be a bread fern. Despite the name, stay away from it. Everything that's in the Sucadae tea is incredibly dangerous and toxic. They sure like their Mediterranean term here. Team here, team. They sure like their Mediterranean team here. Carob or St. John's bread. This is a Fabaceae with tasty fruits. The seeds weigh exactly 1 carat. They're very valuable for congealing food. If you don't want to use pig skin for congealing random foods. But also the whole pot is edible and can be used, for example, as a cocoa substitute. And next to it, a macadamia nut tree. But no macadamia nuts on this one, no carobs on this one. In the last couple years, all my foraging videos are basically showing you stuff which could be edible at some stage, at some period, but mostly not having anything. Yeah, everywhere I go, like the Canary Islands, Southern Europe, yeah, Germany, Bulgaria, France, Borneo, West Malaysia, everywhere people tell me the last more or less 3 fruit seasons were crap. Well, I don't expect carob or macadamia on those trees, but I'm still a little bit disappointed by the lack of fruits around here. Why is there a fence around this beach? Beech nuts are edible, by the way. I guess it's so historic. They wanted to prevent people from climbing it. It's a specific type of beech which is found only in an area from central Germany, I think, through the Low Countries, reaching somewhere into France or maybe even into England. Those crooked branches, those drooping twigs and stuff. You cannot find this anywhere else in the area of the European beach, just as I said, in this strip from Germany through the Low Countries going somewhere into the west. it seems they want to preserve it so much, they made a giant fence around it. The beech nuts, by the way, well, some people say they are toxic, some people say they are edible, but you can definitely process them and get a good oil out of them. My mother said that when she was a child in the Balkan mountains in Bulgaria, they were still collecting and collecting and submitting them to some oil mill. There used to be some little like agricultural section where they had, I remember they grew marijuana there and also some other cultivated plants, but I guess since then they have built another courthouse here. Come on, don't sue people so much, folks. Plant marijuana, not courthouses, please. And if you plant courthouses, at least water your bamboo. Security perimeter of the Supreme Federal Court. Please don't step on the lawn. And a lot more information for the ones of you who can read German. So I guess by stepping on that lawn over there, I just committed a federal offense. And now I'm even publishing this. Yeah. Folks, if you have a nice botanic garden, don't force it by just, inserting a Supreme Court complex on its premises, please. Oh yeah, did you get the spoiler alert? It's here in the shade, not so easy to see, but we gonna eat, not even tonight, we gonna eat today. See, in this big white vat, there is a loquat tree. And somebody has picked everything on the lower branches. The upper branches are hanging full of fruits. On the lower branches, just a couple unripe ones. Well, I'm a big guy with an insatiable hunger for fruits, so tasty loquat quiet. Couple more here. Oh, this is ripe. This is already orange. Much sweeter than the first one. Really tempted to climb on the pot and pick the ones up there, but I guess I'm gonna behave. Did you guys really believe me when I said I'm gonna behave? No, I just needed both hands to climb and get the fruits. There are many fruits on the lower branches, but I like sweet fruits, and loquat is one fruit they eat only. It's completely ripe. Oh, well, I didn't get all of them, but it's a decent amount. What's the punishment for stealing fruits from the Federal Supreme Court of Germany? Not sure, but I guess it's severe. On the other side of the beautiful building, the castle park continues, and with it the arboretum. Nice sequoia, and around it a lot of ancient European yews. And the new entrance is supposed to be somewhere here on the back side of the building, actually. Bracken, another of those crazy species that grow from Scandinavia all the way to the equator. Actually, in Scotland, just as well as in Borneo, sometimes you have to fight through acres and acres and even square miles of bracken. It's a fern, and it's edible actually. Of course it has no fruit since it's a fern, but you can eat the young shoots. You can also make a flower from the roots, and you can make this pretty much everywhere in the world. And funny thing is that even though it looks like it grows on the worst soil, it can actually grow on it can grow. It usually shows that there is still some nutrients in the soil. My grandfather from the Balkan mountain said, wherever you see bracken, you can plant potatoes. Potatoes need a lot of nutrients. And the Ivan, the headhunters of Borneo, say they have a special name for a word where, have a special word for areas with soil where bracken will not grow, and there you don't even need to try to make a garden or a field or a paddy, because rice will also not grow there, not enough nutrients. A young walnut tree, you can always recognize it by the smell of the leaves. Over there seems to be a quince. It's growing in the shade and not a single fruit growing on that quince. And here a hackberry tree. But despite hackberries being very well adapted to drought, I cannot find a single, well, hackberry is not even a berry, it has a big solid seed inside. But I cannot find a single of those unberry hackberries. Oregon grape. Not quite in season yet. Pretty much the only leathery evergreen thing that was invasive in Germany, pretty much everywhere, even before the climate change. Fruits are edible after heating, otherwise you're gonna puke a lot. Wait a moment. I saw 2 hackberries on the ground. Color-wise, they look ripe. Ripe and dried up. Yeah. Oh, and the lower branches of the tree, for some reason, are covered with fruits, which are already full size but not ripe. I see a couple which seem ripe but are not sweet. Sometimes you are lucky and get out of season hackberries in May, but that's rare. Guess the dried up ones are just as dried up ones. So lots of hackberry fruits in the lower branches, not a single one in the higher branches, but not in season. Well, folks, I really tried. I was planning to patronize the greenhouses, but when I went in, no, they didn't say no short, no service. I almost expected that. Nope, they said, we are closing in 12 minutes. Save your money and come another day. So, no greenhouses of the Karlsruhe Botanic Garden for me or for you today. However, I spotted something more down there. There seem to be at least 15 more pots with citruses. Not a single fruit to be seen, but together with the maybe 15 pots up here, it's a decent collection. Let's say 30, maybe even 40 pots with citruses. That's not too bad actually. 30 to 40 pots with citruses and 1 lemon. Yeah. Nah. Not gonna steal it. I know what lemons taste like. Sour and lemony. Haha, look at that. You wanna forage for food? Always follow the Asians. Am I being racist? The Asians are great foragers. Like this guy who is just harvesting the mulberries. Well, actually, East Europeans are just as good in foraging. So whenever somebody looks Asian or speaks Russian, follow them to the free wild food. So with this racist remark, which is gonna get me cancelled, I'm ending the tour of the Botanic Garden of Karlsruhe. If you're in Karlsruhe, definitely visit the palace/castle and also the beautiful Botanic Garden. You'll get nice plants and nice architecture. No reason not to come, but tons of reasons to do so. And yeah, after all those attempts to find something edible in the Heidelberg Bahnstadt or even in Karlsruhe, I'm back to my home turf. The mulberry trees in Heidelberg Südstadt. They are literally overloaded with giant tasty fruits. Yeah, don't go foraging far away just because. Instead, stay in your area and get the low-hanging fruits. and the white mulberries. Look at that. Why did I have to go and forage far and wide? Home is where the fruits are, and it's always good when the fruits are close to your actual home. Oh man. In Bulgaria the sheep would be at those mulberries. Sheep love mulberries. They get sheep love everything they can eat.